Okay, this is my review on a good movie, The Crow. So, the movie opens up on Devil's Night, um, and talks about, and this girl, she talks about, one of my characters, she talks about the legend of the crow, how brings it, there's a crow that brings the dead to the light, but sometimes something so bad happens, it can bring the dead back to life to right the wrongs. And Eric is God is looks like he, it appears at first he got is went out a window and burning, and Shelly, his girl was raped and murdered, and, and almost murdered. Anyway, she took a lot of beating, so she was still alive, and so the cop, Hudson, tells for her to bring her to the hospital, and her friend comes to see her and finds out figure out what happened, and he says everything's like, we're going to take care of his sister and everything's going to be alright. And as the ambulance drives off, and she said, you will lie to me about Eric. I had to, and which means you're lying to me about Shelly. She's going to die, and a year goes by, and we see her visiting the graves of Eric and Shelly. And a crow appears. My dad didn't leave us sleeping, so I'm trying not to wake them. So a crow appears and wakes Eric up from the dead. Eric is shocked and is all confused and stuff, and doesn't remember what happened. So he takes off his funeral shirt and jacket, and he goes around the city while a bunch of gangs are living up and drinking and doing stupid shit. And these are the same people who we find out were at the house a year ago. And So Eric goes to his place and sees the cat. That apparently the police thought it was a good idea to leave the cat behind and a crime scene. And it makes as much sense as it doesn't. So Eric is getting his money back and remember what happened. He came home. Remember getting his memory back and Shelly's memory somehow by seeing that she was raped and beaten and he comes home and the guys beat Eric up and burn him and I guess throw him and he flies out of I don't know if I don't. It doesn't look like burn, but lay on the and the one this guy says we burned you out of that window. So was that literally Anyway, I'm confused. So anyway, he gets thrown out of the window as he tries to stop Shelly from getting beaten and raped, and he gets thrown out of a window, and he remembers now, and he finds out that he has a healing and can heal from glass very quickly, and suddenly this gives him the idea that he's invincible. Which, okay, that makes sense. So he punches the mirror and starts putting makeup on to look like mime, similar to the mask mime that he wore for Shelly. As he was remembering all the happy times he had and that they were going to get married on Devil's Night, which is Halloween. So he and gets all dressed up and goes to take out the first guy, who was a black guy that raped his girl. And murdered her. So the guy doesn't take Eric seriously why he looks so, and Eric easily beats the crap out of him, and he says, I want you to tell me a story. I'm sure you'll remember. A woman on Halloween night raped and murdered. You murdered her and you raped her. And he says, yeah, I remember. She loved it. And her name was Shelley. And so okay, after a cool knife throwing scene, Eric pretty much dodges all the knives and catches one and throws at the black guy at his shoulder, and he says, then he pulls off him, and then he says, "Victims, aren't we all?" and next thing you know, he has a bunch of knives in his chest. When the police come to pick up the corpse, and they figure a psychotic vigilante did it. And that's actually exactly what happened. Which I don't see how it was a bad thing. Anyway, cops are dicks in this movie, except for Ernie Hudson, and except this other black girl that helped Ernie Hudson out. Yeah, we don't get Ernie Hudson's name in this movie, I don't think. Anyway, he buys this little girl dinner, who was the girl at the beginning who was friends with Shelley and Eric. And we find out her mom is an irresponsible parent who is a junkie and hangs out with this junkie, and who is also involved, which was one of the people who helped kill his girlfriend and beat her and stuff. And so anyway, Ernie Hudson runs into Eric and doesn't recognize him. I guess because of the makeup is so convincing and looks like a completely different person. And this is after he takes out another guy that helped with his girlfriend's death, and wants to avenge his girlfriend's death. And that's his goal of the movie, is to avenge his girlfriend's death. And so he goes to this store that one of this dirty Jules men something. Anyway, he has a lot of wedding rings, and seriously involved with bad people, and doesn't seem to care that much as this is once he gets paid. So yeah, Eric comes in and he rhymes, and he says he's looking for an engagement ring. It was here. It was here. Last time he remembered, and he tells him to get the out of the store and tells him to go fuck himself, and so he gets the guy's ass kicks the guy's ass and handcuffs him and trashes the store. And he says, "Don't you know this game?" And he says, "You take all the wedding rings." And he finds the right one, the one he was going to give to Shelley. And he has more memories come back to him. Romantic ones, and he tells the guy that he has a chance to live, and send a message to his friends that death is coming to them tonight by, say, Eric says, and he said his last name also. I can't quite remember his last name, but I know his first name, so he tells that he's nothing but scum. Eric says he says that to Eric, and he says, "Is that gasoline I smell?" The guy runs out of the drill place as he just takes the shotgun and blows up the place. And that's when he runs into Terry Hudson. Anyway, he disappears on Terry Hudson and says that death is coming to them tonight, and they're all dead. They just don't know it yet. So we see that this big bad guy, he's grieving over the loss of his daughter, and takes out an eyeball of this girl and heals the fumes of the eyeball, and business saying and and he finds out one of his men dead, and okay, he really doesn't do anything that evil in this film. We just find out he's behind everything at the end, that he's responsible for his girls and his death, and says that nothing really goes by him without him saying so in this town, that he's basically this big guy that calls all the shots and runs everything in this town. So not the best villain, but not the worst villain. But this villain's a good villain. He's plenty fun to watch. So then the crow runs into the little girl, and he has memories of the little girl come back to her with the little girl and Shelly and her wedding dress, or trying on a wedding dress, and part of the his power, he can also get other people's memories. So he stops her from getting run over by a car, and she asks, "What, you're supposed to be a clown sometimes?" And she says, "I just wish it would stop raining." And he says, "It can't rain all the time." That's when she realizes that's Eric. And he disappears. And that's a really good scene. So Ernie Hudson finds out that the mime is Eric. And so he goes to kill that junkie, and he gives the junkie a rhyme before he kills him, and about Jesus Christ and something, and then talks some sense into the mother and takes out the drugs that were in her system that the guy just put in. And he says, your daughter's out there in the streets waiting for you, and she goes and leaves the place. And this other guy finds out that he he's killed the guy by overdosing him and putting a bunch of needles and drugs that are filled with drugs into his chest, and gave the mocking of the crow. And he says before he disappears, he says shh, and goes right out of the window real quickly, and the guy can't find where the heck he was, so he goes to look at Eric's grave and sees that it's been dug up, or it looks like someone crawled out, and he's like, shit. And this drawer tells exactly what happened, and the bad guy doesn't believe him. And, there's been a lot of weird stuff that's been happening that night, and about to kill him with the sword, and finds out the girl he's been kind of with is his sister. Yeah. His biological system, I take it. Anyway, so anyway, he sends the messages that the crow wanted him to send,